Hello, my name is Marco De Mutis, and this is Screenwalks. I'm digital curator at Fotomuseum Winterthur in Switzerland, and together with the Photographers Gallery in London, we have created this collaborative program of fortnightly live-streamed events. In 2020, the two institutions have joined forces to continue their investigation of the changing role of photography in its networked and digital forms. Each event is led by an artist, researcher, or a curator who takes the audience to the places where their core artistic practices take place. Every event is different. It can be a live performance, a behind-the-scene tour, or a guided online tour, among other formats. We have hosted almost 50 Screenwalk events so far, and you can find video recordings of each one on our website and YouTube channel. If you have found Screenwalks useful for your professional or personal interest, do consider subscribing to Folders. For €7 per month, you'll support the program and its artists, and also you'll get your personalized folder on folders.screenwalks.com. There, you will receive files and extra content from the artists and researchers of Screenwalks. And if you have subscribed already, thank you so much for your support. Now, some housekeeping information. Your microphone should be muted to avoid noise disturbances. If it's still on, please mute it now. We are recording and we will be archiving this event, so please turn off your camera if you don't want to be recorded. Please use the public chat to send any question to tonight's Screenwalk artist, Mario Santamaria, or feel free to send a private message to John or me.
Hello from my side too. I'm John Riarte, curator of the digital programs at the Photographers Gallery in London. Today we will be crawling through walls, following fiber optic cables and other infrastructures of the digital realm with Spanish artist Mario Santamaria. He will take us through his subversive practice on different Google mapping platforms, expanding from Google Maps and Culture to Google Maps or Google Street View. Mario will share with us one of his latest works, proposing an alternative virtual tour for museums and arts organizations. Instead of focusing on the exhibited artworks, he will use tiny cameras to show us the wiring that lay beneath the floors and walls, connecting the building and its devices to the internet. By doing so, Mario will share his experience exploiting the limits and possibilities of mapping platforms and his ongoing attempts to become a Google trusted photographer. Towards the end of the Screenwalk tonight, we will ask for your help also to support Mario on this endeavor of becoming a Google photographer to be able to subvert its own platform. So we'll show you his profile and ask you to help him achieve his goal through a brief participatory online action. Mario Santamaria is a visual artist and university professor. In recent years, his work focuses on tactics to embody distribution protocols, performing actions such as physically traveling to his website by repeating the data path, going for beers around the city as Google algorithm, or founding a tour operator based on the physical infrastructure of the internet. His work has been shown in many art institutions and organizations as the ZKM in Karlsruhe, or MAGBA in Barcelona, Senart in Mexico, Arbeit in London, or Les Rencontres d'Art in France, or CO Berlin. And with no further ado, Mario, thank you so much for being with us today. The screen is yours.
Okay, thank you, John. Thank you, Marco, for the invitation and for this time to share this project. And first, I want to start how I start to work with virtual tours and this connection with infrastructures. Okay. In 2013, well, for me, all this phenomenon of Google Maps, this idea of the complete representation of the world was very magic. This kind of weird things appear, and I remember the pictures of John Rathman, And for me, I was exploring, how Google start to create tours, of these kind of mappings in indoor places. And they have a Google Art project, Google Art Institute, and they create this kind of experience inside the museums or historical places. And well, I spent a lot of time running in these museums and different kind of photo series, and I think these works have relation with this idea of the power of the mimesis, or how technology can create environment spaces are very similar to the real spaces, and create I don't know, it's like a reproduction of a physical space, but at the same time they produce a new space with new characteristics, Okay. And the first photo series, using screenshots is I focus in how Google, this kind of digital museums, they have the possibility to show everything, around the world, but at the same time they have to delete, to remove something, because something from the online, something from the offline politics, go to the digital politics, and create like a paradox. And they have to blur, in this case, maybe the copyrights of this painting are running, it's I think it's 70 years after the death of the artist, and they, in this platform, they can't show, and I document, I have 1,000 of these pictures, how they delete, blur these paintings, For me, so the contradictions of the interface, and also this idea of access in the internet culture, and at the same time, they sophisticate the process for the blur, Also for me, this is interesting. Like we can see something, but not everything, and looks like a metaphor also of the museum, We have stories hyper represented, and we have other stories are outside of the narrative, For example, in this case, it's like it's impossible to know if something there, It's very sophisticated, because when you work in a digital environment, you can create again the representation, And we know our work is in that place, but the process to delete is perfect, And this series from 2013, and I found other thing, in this kind of virtual tours was interesting for me. It's like, in this photograph we have the two things, In the mirror we have the reflection of the camera, Of the device, the machine create this representation, and again, when Google upload a new museum, I go to this museum in Google Art Project and cross all the museum, trying to find the problems with the copyright, and in this case also how the device, the camera, reflects in mirrors or in materials, How something of the environment, of this idea of it's like you are in that place, destroy or something happen, Because finally Google Art Project create like a tunnels of bubbles, It's a bubble with image, and you move from one bubble to other bubble. This is the technique, And no, we can see and create these problems with the perceptions also, no? We are not in the mirror is the camera. And yeah, in Google our project is all buildings, all museums. And in this kind of screenshot, we have a machine is from other time, no, inside the representation, and create like a contradiction between times, no, how we look the past. Or sometimes we have this kind of feelings in relation with digitalization, no? When I don't know, sometimes very simple action now in digital is more complicated, it's more bureaucratic. You have to install the code, blah blah blah, no? And sometimes the question is for who is all this metrification or digitalization? It's not for, it's too complex, no? It's for have to read for other machines, not for humans. And sometimes I have this feeling, no? It's like looks like my world, no? I participate in a process. It's not to present the world more unstable, it's more accessible for people, it's more accessible and stable for machines, no? Later we have other person in the other part of the machine, but sometimes I have these contradictions, no?
Maria, I have a question from the audience. There's someone asking, Tos is asking, who does the blur outs? Who blurs the artworks? Is it a specific or like is it a job at Google?
It's a human. It's a human. Because maybe in Google Street View, maybe they have an automatic system for faces or something, but inside a museum, it's like Picasso, the copyright is working, and somebody have to go to this painting and delete. And this is the reason sometimes, because years later, I did other project and was try to find the point of view where you can see the artwork. You know, because sometimes the human say, this point of view is not important because it's too far, no? Important is the, the official, the perfect point of view. And yeah, and this is, it's by human.
And do you know if the question includes like if that's a job at Google, like is there someone who is like dedicated to blur those images, or is it within the museum that have the access to do that?
When one museum, Google try to find partners, no? Sometimes are big institutions, sometimes small institutions, and they sign a contract about how to do the digitalization and who have to pay all that. And I think the two partners have to put money to do all the process. And the machines and some experts are from Google, but other part of the job is from the institution. And I don't know, maybe it's a technical guy, is the guy to use the software to create the virtual tour, no? Is when you have all the pictures, you have to go to a software and put the bubbles in the correct positions. And this person you have an option in this kind of software. Later I will talk about that, because now I'm using this kind of softwares, and you have the option for blur, and you can blur something. It's like option inside the interface.
Maybe it was a colleague from one of us, John, afraid that they will have to do some of this work from the museum.
Luckily we don't have a virtual tour at the gallery, at the Photographers Gallery, at least for now. So no one has to start blurring images.
And sometimes this kind of pictures, no, the camera, this was a blog, the camera in the mirror. Sometimes this representation also is blurred. So this option of blurred things is not only for copyright. It's when you think something escape from this idea of environment, of the experience Google want to propose. No, this is one of my, after a lot of years, this is my favorite. This is White House, the White House. And, the tradition, the relation with the painting tradition, no? and this is a Holland painting. You know, this is the eye of the god. You know, it's always is in the back of the painting, and it's it's the place where you can see everything. No, and this is the camera. Well, it's in the White House. Okay. Okay, I spend a lot of time from my life working this kind of museums and create a huge collection of screenshots. And at the same time, in another moment of my life, 2016, I make a project and the idea was playing with my website. And you know, when I refreshed my website, what happened? No, what movements in the world? No, and how this data have to move from one server to my computer. And the idea was to make absurd travel from my home, from Barcelona, to the place where is my server. No, and my server is in Milan, in Bergamo, in Italy. And this was my travel. I can see. Well, it's okay. It's possible to know the middle points in an internet connection with a traceroute, and you can see the IP address in the middle. And this is the movement of the data, no, from my website, from my server in Bergamo. The data go to the place in Italy, go again to the north of Italy, go to the north at Telia company, Stockholm, go to some place in the middle of Europe, and back to Barcelona. And this process is in 30 milliseconds. It's like nothing. And I put my body, and I spent 2 weeks to do that in the real world. And I visit the infrastructure of the internet during this travel, no? And I try to find these places where the data move to other place. And I have, geolocalization from all my movements. I like the idea of incarnate, embody algorithmic process, no? It's like I go to be a data package today, and I move as a data package. And I like this idea, no? How to try to find other ways to move, to I don't know. And well, finally, it's a website with all the archive, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And in that moment, no, I have the option to show this work in exhibition. And the idea was create like something for the others, no? Some collective. And I create like a tour operator, like a touristic company focused in the internet infrastructure. Now it's not me doing this holy travel to Italy. Now it's something to do with more people. And I create this website, and the structure is like a traceroute, the design, and we have all the information about the events. And we rent a bus, and people go to it's like a the typical touristic travel, and we visit the internet infrastructures in the city. The first one was in Madrid, later in Barcelona, and I don't know, in Barcelona, for example, the tourism is a important issue, no? It's how, I don't know, it's a very visual condition and affect to the city and the urbanism, no? And it's a game, how to copy this tactic and use for other things, no? And we go to visit different kind of infrastructures, no? Data centers, that we go to find a landing place, one underwater cable arrived in Gaba. We don't know where is it, but we go to that beach. Raining. This is organize a visit, for example, when we have a new landing in the city. This was in Santamaria, a new cable connect Barcelona with the project is to Africa. It's a big cable around Africa and landing in Barcelona. And we go in the moment they start the build the infrastructure, no? And we go with the students and we can see how is this process. It's a data center in Berlin. It's close to a thermic power station. Also the relation with other kind of infrastructures. Your vision, our duty. Also when it's a new data center, no? And we can see also the process. This is in Bilbao, Tata Communications, I think. The landing. This is a huge new data center close to Berlin. And yeah, the idea was to create like a accelerationist business, no, with tourism. And okay, this is the background. Why now? One institution, one museum in Barcelona, well, it's art center, Santa Monica Art Center, proposed me to participate in the first exhibition in the new, like the redesign of the institution, no? And I proposed that my participation in the exhibition was create the official virtual tour of the institution. No, I was talking always how Google did the virtual tours, and in this case, it's okay, try to do something different with this institution. And this is the website of the Santa Monica. If you go visit, we have virtual tour, the Santa Monica in your hands without leaving home. And that you have the access to 3 different entry points in Google Maps. And this is the first one. And okay, I propose a digitalization of the building using very normal amateur camera, create panoramas, and later I connect these panoramas with a software. At the beginnings, use Google Art Project, so Google was problematic, but finally, Google is like the official representation of the world in some way, no? And our virtual tour is very punk, so because it's, you know, it's not, I don't know, for example, in the first, no, we can see I blurred the museum, you know, like a bit, because I don't know. No. And this was the virtual tour I created for this institution. We can enter with the door, but no. We start to fly. And entry with the surveillance camera. And continue the cables. And in that point, we enter to the building. This is the stick. Later, we have a real exhibition in the building, a physical exhibition, and I use this space to install one of the screens, no, where you can see this part of the tour. At the other part of the door, no, in the other side is the exhibition space. And we go up. It's very old building, and you can see different layers in the construction and rebuilds, no? And this is interesting if you use this kind of techniques to go in the middle, no, like a Mataclar action. Hotel lost in the time. And you can see, no, that this thing is a hole. To do that, I make holes in the ceiling. So we are in the top of the exhibition space. When you go to the exhibition space, you only have holes in the ceiling and cables and lights. But no, the thing happens in other place. In that point, we jump. So I'm doing this direction, but the tour is without direction, no? Like you can do it.
I have more of a question, comment. Angel saying very brave on the part of the organization to show its insights, so unashamedly. So like, is this like the institutions that you have worked with when doing these tours? Do they see this as like a transparency kind of
I propose
action,
I propose to the director of the institution this idea to like a virtual tour, but like a rat, like across weird spaces and jump, and you know, with very low technology. It's like I try to imagine like crazy things to do with the camera, like you know, through the camera with something to create like you know, weird movements. I don't know, and make holes. And the director say me, do more. You know, no problem. He likes this kind of things because they want to propose institution more open to people, more open with the process, and other kind of institution, no? During that moment, all the museum was in rebuilding, no, the installation is not finished. No, the workers are preparing the opening. No, we can see we jump from that part.
And can I ask you just a follow-up question? Why is it important for you for the camera technology to be lo-fi, to be simple, to be accessible?
I try to find a camera, the better camera I can buy with my budget, but also small to entry in small places. Google use a camera is impossible go to. This low technology create possibilities to do more dirty things.
Thanks.
Because,
a bit of an anti-Google in a way as well.
Because sometimes when I using the camera, it's like, maybe fall and it's broken. You know, I have this feeling all time because I use a very long stick, and sometimes you are doing with something with the light at the same time, or the camera is full of golpes, shoot by things, and it's like if I want to resell now, it's like very bad condition. And with very good camera, you can't. If I have to rent the very good camera to do that, and I say to the company, I go to put the camera in the top of the roof, and they say me no. Bueno, okay, tickety. Click, click, click. Okay, and we are the roof, the bottom. It's a problem, the vertical movements, because Google Street View and Google Indoor is for everything horizontal. You have levels, but I create everything in the same level. It's very, and yeah, vertical is weird. No, you have to teletransport. You. And in the snake with the fiber optic cables, the Ethernet cable, electricity. I go fast because it's here we have a bifurcation. The storage of the middle of waste. I like this kind of thing, for example. I don't know if the institution like, but I like. Oh, maybe I lost. I don't know where I am. Okay, other room again. PD. Bueno, you can imagine we cross and okay, later other part of the virtual tour is in the roof of the building. Because I create like a line, all the bubbles connected with bifurcations, but some kind of bubbles are a problem for Google, and they delete weeks later one of the bubbles, and they destroy the flow, no? And you have like a ruins of the in the original idea is in that point I have a connection with other players. This Barcelona, very sophisticated system. We are in that place again. And when you go, no, the idea of the exhibition was you go to the exhibition and you can see the trace, no, the rest of the digitalization and some screen in some installations, no, to see the screens, no, it was like an online project and at the same time something physical, no. In the exhibition we have this, no, you can see that, no, because we have to put lights in these places, no. No, and this was like the very minimal intervention, no, very I use usually a stick, and this is the camera, and I try to find a way to put the camera in these places. That really is easy. This is a map of the position of the bubbles and how one bubble connects to the other. Around 250 more or less. Crazy ideas about how to throw the camera from one place, you know, and to escape to, because the idea was change the point of view, no, and change the trace. And I use, yeah, okay, in this point, at the beginning, I tried to find a professional, you know, people who work in this kind of things, because, well, I'm in the dark now. Wow. Yeah, people, no, create digitalization of different kind of business, you know, hotels, and put all this image in Google. And I tried to find one of these professionals. But the idea was I take the pictures, but you know, with your software and with your I don't know, you know how Google works, and you can put all this image in Google Maps. But it was a bit expensive, and the budget was not okay. And finally, I have to do it all the process. And I found a software. You have to pay more options, but this was good for me because you don't have to. This software don't read the GPS of the camera. You can put the photo wherever you want, know where was taken, and this is important because sometimes it's, you know, you have to play a bit. And yeah, in the photo, yeah, you it's easy. You can connect one bubble with the other, and later you publish in Google all the tour. Later, Google have I don't know, verification system. Maybe it's automatic, some part of them, and if the bubbles don't connect very well, or it's a weird representation, or marked bubbles are closed, they delete these bubbles. And yeah.
In fact, related to this, I have a question asking if you had, I mean, if this project is, or the tour was made in conjunction with Google, if you had their permission, or if you can insert this content without Google being aware, which I guess it's...
In this case, I have the permission of the institution, because you have to say in the software, o sea, this is our Santa Monica. And if, you know, it's like, it's not I publish pictures in the street, it's like I publish picture from Santa Monica. And in that case, if I need you know, a text from the director, it's no problem, no? So I feel like if somebody asks me, it's very, you know, I have full condition. So it's no. And finally, nobody asked me about that.
Okay.
I don't know.
And has Google ever reached you? Because you've done a few works about Google, different mapping platforms. Have they ever like contacted you? No. Okay.
No. Maybe you know better, because I remember a Google photographers, no, in no, with a photograph gallery.
Yeah, we did a talk with the team that works, but particularly on the Google Arts and Culture project, on the one taking photos inside photo institutions, well, not photo, art institutions. Yeah, but I don't know who, I mean, I'm aware that some other artists who have worked with Google Maps have been contacted by Google, but to be honest, I don't know who does that.
For now, I'm working in the shadows, like now, you know. This is a picture of the installation, one of the screens, no? I use these room machines and I install in that place. I open the door, no? It was more complicated. Open the door during the exhibition, because for safety, you know, for the institution, it was more complicated. Open this door during the exhibition than make holes in the roof and all the other stuff. Because, you know, if some people from the city council go and, oh, this is not safe because it's dangerous infrastructure. And I create these other installations in all storage, so a place without use, like no, to see the no, as a video, no, a video of this tour in a weird place, no, in the architecture of the building.
And maybe I can bring you a comment from the chat from Tos, who writes, heart emoji. It's an internet version of acknowledging, showing, including the camera and the processing cinema and visual arts practice, lifting the curtain, making the excluded and hidden strings visible. So just throwing you this heart emoji, you know, don't need to reply.
I don't have to say nothing.
It's also it's not
receive it. I think it's about maybe like you know, you can comment a little bit about how you relate to this idea of maybe hiding and making it visible, and how it relates to the infrastructure in the camera, if you want.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, there is another question from Toast that's much more specific. Is the music intentional? He asks.
Yeah, it's too loud or it's okay?
It would be fun if it was a mistake for like now 16. No, I think it's quite low unless other people in Zoom think otherwise to let us know, but I think it's quite nice as a background volume.
Okay, no, this was the first project I started to work with creating these virtual tours. At the beginning, work with Google was a conflict, but finally I found a software and the camera and I create a very weird tours. It's like, I don't know, for me it's like an intervention in this context, no, full of image and looks something official. It's like it's the official copy of the world, no, and I like for that, no, but I understand it's problematic, no. And the next intervention similar was in Reina Sofia in Madrid, and the idea was great. This work was only in 4 days, and the idea was try to connect all the museums, create itinerary, a walk from the museum, connect the two fiber optic cables, connect the building, because Reina Sofia have a very old building, is Sabatini, and new one is the Nouvelle extension. And one of them, they have different kind of machines and infrastructures. And they have two cables and give internet to the building, no? And this was like the beginning to create like a narrative for the tour, no? I use a lot this website. It's a infrastructure. You can see fiber optic cables around the world. And this is Reina Sofia, and we have Lindia cable, this huge network. And now go from this road and connect in 2 points with the building. And I try to find the place more or less. Oh, I don't know where is my. It's full of things. Okay, and this is the first bubble of the tour. In these cables go from the tunnel, the rock, and this is the Reina Sofia. And it's like, okay, go to the Reina. In that point. Because they delete Google deletes some of the bubbles, and I have to go for parts. No. Later we entry in the deposit of the museum, and this is the deposit full of cables.
Why do they delete the bubbles? Do you know why?
Because these bubbles are very weird, are in the dark, and maybe the sequences are not perfect, the distance between the bubbles, and also because today I discover they delete some of these bubbles, and it's maybe because I'm publishing bubbles pictures in the same layer than, for example, the bar of Nouvelle. And the bar of Nouvelle, they have a Google official copy, and maybe create like a conflict. I don't know.
And you think it's done by humans?
No, I think it's automatic something.
Automatic.
Yeah, I think so.
Thanks.
Sometimes because, later I can say, sometimes some of the bubbles are fake, it's not real. So it's like, are not in this specific point. And maybe they know because it's Google and they know a lot of things.
So they also operate in the shadows.
Cables. We are in the collection of the museum. Yeah. This was the person who invited me to participate in the project. And in that moment, I go up, in the middle of this square in Nouvelle extension. And we have magic. And we start to follow this.
I also have a more of like a request from Carlos saying that he wants pictures of you, Mario, in Mission Impossible mode with a GoPro in your mouth, because I guess that he's imagining you crawling, going into these spaces, into these small spaces. This idea of because you are always using this stick, this long stick with a camera. Is that right? Or have you ever gone yourself with your body through all these walls and really narrow spaces?
No. So you have to access to the underground or specific places, but are no complicated for a body.
And this, but then I guess that this
it's like collocate the camera in specific points. But maybe this is because to create all the connection of the fiber optic, imagine one cable cross all the Reina Sofia Museum. I have to invent part of the tour. And I copy in my studio cable using the camera. And I know what is the standard cable. I know, because I take photograph of that in other places, and I create like a copies of the infrastructure where I don't have access to that point because it's impossible to put the camera inside a tube underground, And this is the reason sometimes Google delete the bubble, because it's true, are not not there exactly,
I guess that the idea, like also the point of view of the map, like the first view, like first point of view as like someone who is looking at it is also interesting, no? Because it gives you the feeling of being there, like crawling across those spaces.
No, it's this idea, not like in the travel to my website, no? Moving as a data package, okay, no, try to find the perspective from a cable, no? And cross the museum from this perspective, no? At the same time, you have places where more or less you can see something, no? And for example, in this case, it's in Reina Sofia, they have like a vertical tunnels across all the building from top down, and all the cables go in that place, you know, because in the underground they have the server.
Well, that's really interesting. Then the reality in itself is not so important in a sense, right? It's more like also the imagination or being able to see this kind of hidden infrastructure. Or how do you kind of use the two, you know, the reconstruction and the document, like the actual pictures?
Yes, it was in this project, in Reina Sofia intervention, I have to use fiction. For example, in Santa Monica, I use weird tactics to use the camera, but in this intervention, I start to use the fiction, but you know, I invent an image, a representation of a cable, but the cable is in that place where I put the bubble in Google Street View, no? So we don't have access to this vision. I invent this representation, but it's in the place where I have to be. So this is the game, no? It's
yeah, and also knowing that, I mean, you know, the kind of cable that is there, and then you place it in the map that for many of us, this Google map is like the real place. No, when you are looking for somewhere to go, you check the Google Maps, and it's some sort of like the real place. So maybe it's not that important that the photo was taken there or not. Also, like questioning this idea of like the real place and the real cable.
Yeah, for me, the real place is important because it's like, you know, if the image is, if I make this representation, I need the other, the real place, no? Because I need something for, I don't know, to be like, for the effect, no, of this action, like animals. Look. Okay, well, it's long. This is in the roof of Reina Sofia. They have all the ventilations and machines for thermic. This is me. And this. No, this is this kind of cables. It's a fiction. You know, it's really low, but the reality is like that. This is the Sabatini building. It's the old museum. I don't know how to escape. No, in this case also they have like a machine here, like server, but the people from the institution, they don't want that I publish in Google the image of the server. For example, this is the cable entry in the Sabatini Reina Sofia. So this is the reality, you know? This is the internet. It's like very, you know, It's no, don't looks very sophisticated or this is the underground of in Sabatini. Okay, maybe it's a bit long. The position of the bubbles in the Reina Sofia, trying to connect the two buildings and crossing different kind of spaces, no? The air ventilation machines, the deposit, yeah. No, the place where I start, the tunnel. This my camera in these vertical corridors. Okay. And this. I publish I take photos of the servers of the institution, but I have a lot of problems with the people from informatics, from the department of the institution, because they have problems with all the Russian conflict, and they say maybe hackers attack the institution because it's a public institution and it's complicated, and they say I can't show the machines, the server, the racks. And I publish, this is a photograph, a panorama of the inside the rack, the servers in the Reina Sofia, and I publish blur, no? The same than the museums publish the works with copyright. And this was part of the virtual tour, but today I was checking and Google delayed this image, maybe because everything is blurred, it's absurd, and it's not in the in Google Street View. And I want to find also in the north of Spain, in Sopelana, we have two important cables, one I think is in process. No, this is Marea, no, Tata, Marea, no. Okay, with this idea of use fiction also, I try to do something, is try to represent a copy, for example, Marea cable in Google Street View. And works. It's like this picture is not did in that place, you know, it's but you know, it's in Google Maps now, and it's in the same position than the landing of Marea. And I like this idea to represent a long cable, no? To create something like Google cable view, Google view, cable Google view. And very absurd, you can click. No, and stop. Okay, maybe it's enough. Yeah.
Maybe can you share your your Google photographer profile, just for and explain a little bit how it works.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true. When I try to find a photographer for this kind of projects, Google offered me a list of people. Like people live in Barcelona, and they have like a license or something like that. And yeah, it's like they use some kind of cameras are compatible with Google. They use some kind of software, and they have a lot of pictures published in Google. No, this is the place you can. They propose you people, no, and you have the contact. And I call all these studio designs or from Barcelona. And I don't know. I have my tour operator. I am a professional guide focused on internet, and why not? I can be a class Google photographer, no, and publish this kind of bubbles around the world. And now I'm level 6. I have 2,000 points. They give me points for every photo and also comments and reviews of the material. How to... Where? I have close to 400 pictures. And here is if somebody comment one of your places or pictures, 10 points. Valoración, put stars, no, in your things, 1 point. Per photo, 5 points. And the different levels. I'm like in the middle. Maybe when you cross level 8, you are in the list of the official photographers. I'm not sure, but maybe it's more easy. You know, they don't delete my bubbles on my photos.
Angel is commenting. High five emoji, clap emoji, clap emoji. Fantastic. Did anyone review your cable pictures?
No, I don't have reviews. Now, my next project, I want to copy one of huge cable, but no Marea cable. Like, you know, like 100 kilometers of cables of a new cable is not, it's in process, and the name is Medusa cable. Connect with, no, this image I start, no, the representation of Caravaggio Medusa, no, this relation with the mimesis. Yeah, I want to copy 8,000 kilometers, clicking, I don't know. Maybe one part of the cable is not, maybe I don't need to copy all. The distance...
No, now you said it and it's recorded, 8,760 kilometers of cable. What does it connect?
The distance between the bubbles are or like 1 meter to 10 meters. This is the options in the software I use, you know. And sometimes I use the camera with less space, or sometimes it's more. This is the reason sometimes I have problems with the platform, because the standard is 1 meter, 2 meters, 5 meters, 10 meters.
And what could...
Sorry, go John.
What could people do, like our audience, to give you points and to help you become a Google trusted photographer? We share the link on the chat, but
the reviews. I think reviews are very well, but I don't know how to do it. I never did a review for Google in my life, you know, and never put stars in places where I travel. I'm not a Google user in this position.
Mm-hmm.
In spite of your 2,060 points, you're not sure how, and we were trying to review the images, right? So that's also something that it's not really clear. Maybe it's about sharing the images, or maybe it's just about viewing the images.
I don't know.
But I think in any case,
it's not a report, this image.
yes,
Yeah.
to report them. In any case, I think that I would like to request a ScreenWalks exclusive tour when the new project of the submarine cable will be completed. And so with the whole 8,000 kilometers performed live. And in the meantime, I want to thank you a lot for basically turning us also into data packages and taking us also with this beautiful soundtrack. What was that? Windows XP?
Yeah, installation music.
Installation music. And so taking us around all the cables that make this infrastructure visible. I think I also want to just mention that for us, or at least for me, this idea of the network and its infrastructure is particularly important in the photographic field, because there's always this tendency of looking at the virtual, the immaterial side of digital photography. And I think your work is so important to kind of remind us of all of this very physical infrastructure.
Yeah.
And also the way that you're playing with the infrastructure through images that then become digital, and then, you know, like kind of go, like they go again through the path that you photograph, kind of show like this. And also like how imagination and like there's so many layers to your work that I think it's particularly telling about so many of the things that we deal with, in especially in network images and digital images today.
Yeah, I will in fact recommend our audience that if they have the chance to attend one of the internet tours that Mario organizes quite often. It's like a highly recommended tour to join, because first is like the anti-touristic tour. You happen to see nothing, because it's all like underground, on closed buildings, and it's like the opposite of what you expect from a touristic tour. And then it's so much about imagining and thinking about those infrastructures. That yeah, I agree with you, Marco, on how it relates with our interests. Yeah, so thank you, Mario. Thank you so much for the screen walk. Thank you, thank you to all the people who has joined us today as well. We will be back. That's it, in 2 weeks.
With the screen walk with Sarah Bezoshek.
Yeah,
so do not miss it, and I hope to see you all there. And thanks again so much, everyone, and Mario especially, for this fantastic tour.
Thank you.
I'm gonna ask you all to mute if you want to say something before we close the event and the stream. Yes, thank you again, and see you hopefully in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Mario. Fantastic.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mario.
Thank
Have a
you.
good rest of the evening, everybody.